Welcome back to the Gold IRA Blueprint podcast. We're diving deep today into something that's been getting a lot of attention lately, gold IRAs.
You're absolutely right. There's definitely a surge in interest, especially with folks getting closer to retirement.
Yeah, it seems like so many people want to find ways to protect their savings, with the market going up and down all the time. And gold always seems to be that safe haven, doesn't it?
Exactly. And for good reason. I mean, gold has a history of holding its value really well, especially in times of economic uncertainty, like when inflation kicks in.
So let's break this down a bit for our listeners who are maybe hearing about this for the first time. Can you explain exactly what a gold IRA is?
Sure. In simple terms, a gold IRA is a kind of individual retirement account, a self-directed one that lets you hold actual physical gold instead of those traditional assets, like stocks or bonds. It's a way to diversify your retirement portfolio and possibly protect yourself from inflation.
Got it. It's like adding a safety net to your retirement plan.
Exactly. It's important to remember, though, that the IRS has specific regulations on the type of gold you can hold in a gold IRA. It needs to meet certain purity standards.
Yeah.
We're talking about investment-grade gold coins or bars, not just any random gold you find.
So I guess that means no sneaking in grandpa's gold watch.
Sadly, no. And there are rules about storage, too. The IRS is pretty strict. They require you to hold your gold with an approved custodian. It's usually a specialized depository. This way they can make sure it's safe and sound.
That definitely makes sense. You want to be sure that your investment is secure, especially for retirement.
Absolutely. Now that we've covered the basics, let's get into some of the advantages of having a gold IRA, particularly for someone who's planning for retirement.
Yeah, I'm really curious about that. What are some of the things that make this type of investment so appealing to people?
One of the big draws, and we touched on this briefly, is how a gold IRA can help protect you against inflation. When the cost of living goes up and your dollar doesn't buy as much, gold has this tendency to keep its value or even increase in price.
So it's almost like a shield for your savings to prevent them from shrinking because of inflation.
Exactly. And another great thing about gold IRAs is the diversification they offer. By adding gold to your portfolio, especially one that's heavily invested in stocks and bonds, you can potentially lower your overall risk.
Mm.
Gold generally moves differently than those traditional assets. So if the stock market takes a tumble, gold might just hold steady or even climb, giving your portfolio a bit of a cushion.
Kind of like that saying, don't put all your eggs in one basket.
You got it. And in times when things feel a bit shaky, like during geopolitical turmoil or when the market is volatile, gold often becomes a safe haven. You see investors flocking to it in search of stability. It can bring a sense of security during those uncertain times.
That peace of mind is so valuable, especially when you're thinking about your retirement and wanting to make sure everything is taken care of.
No doubt about it. And before we go any further, there's something I want to mention for our listeners. Choosing the right gold IRA company can be quite a challenge with all the options available. To make things easier, we've created a free checklist that can really help you navigate this whole process.
Oh yeah, that checklist is such a great resource. It breaks down all the important things you need to think about when choosing a provider.
Exactly. You can download it for free at goldirablueprint.com/exclusive. It's filled with tips and insights to help you make the right choice.
So let's talk more about some of those key factors you should consider. Are there any downsides or risks to having a gold IRA that we should know about?
Great question. Just like any investment, there are some risks with gold. In the short term, the price of gold can be a bit volatile, meaning it can go up and down. So it's important to think long term when it comes to gold. And don't forget about the costs associated with a gold IRA, like setup fees, storage fees, and transaction costs that come up when you buy or sell gold.
So it's not as simple as investing and forgetting about it. There are ongoing costs that you need to keep in mind, right?
You're absolutely right. It's really important to consider those costs and how they fit into your investment strategy as a whole.
Let's switch gears for a moment and focus on one specific company that offers gold IRAs, Merrill Lynch. They're well known in the financial world, part of Bank of America, and have a solid reputation for their wealth management services.
You're right. They've got a long history and are known for their stability, which can be very reassuring for investors, especially for those approaching retirement and looking for a provider they can trust.
So for our listeners, what makes Merrill Lynch stand out when it comes to their gold IRA offering?
Well, one thing that really sets them apart is their level of expertise and guidance. They have a team of financial advisors who can walk you through the entire process, explain all the details of gold IRAs, and even help you develop a personalized plan based on your needs and goals.
That personalized approach can make such a big difference, especially when you're new to this kind of investing.
For sure. Another thing to keep in mind is the variety of investment options they offer. With Merrill Lynch, you're not restricted to just physical gold. You can also invest in gold ETFs, which are basically exchange-traded funds that follow the price of gold. They offer more flexibility and liquidity, particularly if you're looking to buy and sell more frequently.
Interesting. So you have different choices depending on your investment style and what you're comfortable with.
Precisely. And of course, they have a really great online platform, Merrill Edge, which makes managing your investments and keeping track of your portfolio super easy and convenient.
It sounds like they offer a comprehensive package combining expert advice with a platform that's simple to use.
Exactly. But just like with any financial decision, it's crucial to do your research and think carefully about all aspects of Merrill Lynch's Gold IRA. That goes for any provider, really, before making a final decision.
And that's where our free checklist can be really helpful.
Right. Exactly. You can get it at goldirablueprint.com/exclusive. It'll guide you through the most important questions and factors to consider when you're choosing a gold IRA company.
All right, we've covered a lot of ground, from the basics of gold IRAs to the potential benefits and risks. And we've even got a good understanding of what Merrill Lynch has to offer. Now, let's dig a little deeper into the specifics of their gold IRA, particularly the fees involved, and how the process of actually opening and managing an account works.
That sounds like a plan.
All right, so before we got sidetracked, we were starting to dig into the specifics of Merrill Lynch's gold IRA. Let's talk fees.
Okay.
What can someone expect in terms of costs when they set up and manage a gold IRA with Merrill Lynch?
Yeah, that's an important question because fees can really add up over time and impact your returns. With Merrill Lynch, like with most providers, you'll see a few different types of fees. The first one is the account setup fee. It's a one-time charge you pay when you first open the account. Then you've got those ongoing storage fees. This is for keeping your physical gold safe and secure in an approved depository.
Makes sense. If you have more gold, the storage fees go up, right? That's right. And then there are transaction costs. These come up every time you buy or sell gold within your IRA. They can vary depending on the specific transaction and how often you're buying or selling.
So it's not as passive as some people might think. You do have to consider those ongoing costs.
You've got it. It's all part of having a solid investment strategy. So let's move on to investment options. We touched on this a bit earlier, but Merrill Lynch gives you choices when it comes to investing in gold within your IRA.
Yeah, you mentioned physical gold and gold ETFs. Can you go into a little more detail about those?
Sure. If you want something tangible, the classic option is physical gold bars and coins. This gives you direct ownership, which many people find appealing.
It's like having a real piece of history as part of your portfolio.
Exactly. But don't forget those storage fees we talked about. Now, if you're looking for something more liquid and flexible, gold ETFs could be a better fit.
Remind me again, what exactly are gold ETFs? So gold ETFs, or exchange-traded funds, are like investment funds that track the price of gold. You can trade them on stock exchanges, just like regular stocks, so they're very easy to buy and sell. And the best part is you don't have to deal with physical gold, so no storage costs.
It sounds much simpler.
Exactly. However, ETFs do come with their own fees, called expense ratios. These cover the cost of managing the fund. You'll want to compare these ratios across different ETF providers to make sure you're getting the most cost-effective option.
So basically, you weigh the pros and cons of each option and see what best suits your investment style and what you want to achieve.
You got it. And this is where working with a financial advisor can really pay off. Merrill Lynch really emphasizes the importance of sitting down with an advisor. They'll get to know you, understand your financial goals, and figure out if a gold IRA is right for your overall retirement plan.
It's like having a customized guide for your gold IRA journey.
I like that analogy. So let's say your listener is ready to open a gold IRA with Merrill Lynch. What's that process like?
Okay, good question.
Well, the first step is simple. Schedule a consultation with a Merrill Lynch financial advisor. This initial meeting is all about understanding your needs, your financial goals, and if a gold IRA makes sense for you.
So it's about getting that personalized advice tailored to your situation.
Absolutely. If you decide to move forward, you'll need to gather some documents, the usual stuff like your ID and financial statements. Then you'll fill out the IRA application. That's a pretty standard form. And finally, you'll fund your account. You can do this by rolling over funds from an existing retirement account or by making a direct contribution.
It doesn't sound too complicated, especially with an advisor to guide you.
Exactly. And once your gold IRA is up and running, you have several options for managing it. If you're comfortable with the market and want to be more hands-on, you can do direct trading. That means you buy and sell gold based on your own research and analysis.
But you're in control.
Right. But if you'd rather have someone else take the reins or want professional input, you can always work with your Merrill Lynch financial advisor. They can help you develop a customized investment strategy, track your portfolio, and make changes as needed.
It's like having a partner in your gold IRA journey.
That's a great way to put it. Merrill Lynch also offers a bunch of research tools and resources. You can use these to stay up to date on market conditions and make informed decisions.
It's a great combination, having access to expert advice and the information you need to make smart decisions about your investments.
Precisely. And no matter how you choose to manage it, the most important thing with any gold IRA is to review and monitor your investments regularly.
So it's not just set it and forget it.
Definitely not. The market is always changing, gold prices fluctuate, and your own financial situation and goals might change over time. It's essential to stay engaged, look over your strategy from time to time, and adjust as needed.
It's like having a garden. You can't just plant it and walk away. You have to nurture it and make sure it keeps growing.
I love that analogy. Before we move on to our final thoughts, I want to remind everyone listening that choosing a gold IRA provider is a big deal. Take your time and do your research. Our free checklist at goldirablueprint.com/exclusive is a great tool to help you compare different companies and make an informed decision.
That's a great reminder. That checklist really breaks down the key factors you should be looking at, things like fees, investment options, and the kind of support and guidance you can expect. All right, so we've talked a lot about Merrill Lynch and their gold IRA offering. But what about other options? Are there any alternatives our listeners should know about?
Absolutely. There are definitely other reputable companies out there, each one with its own pros and cons. You might want to look into Fidelity. They're known for having a wide range of investment choices and low fees. And then there's Betterment. They specialize in what's called robo-advising, which basically means they use technology to manage your portfolio automatically.
So there are different options depending on what's important to you and how comfortable you are managing your own investments.
Exactly. It's all about finding what works best for you and your needs.
All right, so we've covered a lot in this deep dive. We've gone over the ins and outs of gold IRAs, we've weighed the benefits and the risks, and we even took a closer look at what Merrill Lynch has to offer.
Right. We even touched on some alternatives to give our listeners a good place to start their research.
Before we finish up, let's take a step back and think about the bigger picture. We've been focused on the specifics of gold IRAs and what these companies offer. But I'm curious about your thoughts on the role of gold in a retirement portfolio in general.
That's a great question. Gold has always been seen as a way to protect yourself from inflation and hold on to value when times are uncertain. It can be really valuable in making sure your portfolio isn't all in one place and could even help you avoid losses when other investments, like stocks, aren't doing so well.
So it's not about putting all your money into gold, but rather thinking of it as a piece of your overall retirement plan.
Exactly. And remember, gold is a long-term investment. It's not about trying to time the market or make quick profits. It's about having a strategic allocation to gold as part of a well-rounded investment strategy.
And of course, just like with any investment decision, it's super important to do your research, understand your own goals and risk tolerance, and maybe even talk to a financial advisor if you need guidance.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. So as we wrap up today's episode, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought.
Okay, go ahead.
When you're planning for retirement, it's easy to get lost in the details and the numbers. But in the end, it's really about building a future where you feel secure and can relax and enjoy yourself.
It's not just about the money. It's about having the freedom to live the life you want.
Perfectly said. And exploring options like gold IRAs can help you achieve that.
And don't forget, to help our listeners on that journey, we've created that free checklist we mentioned earlier. You can find it at goldirablueprint.com/exclusive.
It's full of helpful tips and important things to think about as you choose the right gold IRA company for your needs.
Make sure to check it out. And as always, thanks for joining us on the Gold IRA Blueprint podcast.